What we want to talk about now is where is all this money invested? If you saw the previous lecture, the bulk of these institutional investors, they seek safety more than anything else. More than returns, they seek safety. So pension funds and insurance funds, they cannot afford to lose their principal. And therefore, most of their funds are invested in government bonds or triple A country bonds or triple A corporate bonds. So these are all ratings, credit ratings that are given by the Standard and Poor's and Moody's and all of that. The US used to be a triple A until I believe 2011 August, and that's when the USA got downgraded to a double A. However, there are other triple A countries like the UK, Germany, Switzerland, and so on. And so government bonds, or they will go for the best of the corporates. So you're talking of Microsoft, you're talking of Intel. So all of these funds invest into very safe investments. The US and Japan have the largest bond markets. Government bonds worldwide alone hold about almost $100 trillion. And the 2008 financial crisis has actually made more money go into government debt, and therefore the government bond market has actually increased. But of course, with government debt and bonds, as you'll see later in this course, the returns are not great because obviously you're giving the government some money and they're going to give you a bond and you'll probably get 3% for your money, but it's still not a whole lot. And so private funds, they choose to chase stock market returns and private investments because there you tend to get a bigger return. But however, you also can lose money there. And so it all comes down to how much risk do you want to take, how much return are you looking for, and what kind of safety are you looking for. So primarily, if you look at pension and insurance funds, they're looking for safety and a small return. But if you look at a hedge fund, they're probably looking at a slightly higher return and they're willing to take a slightly higher amount of risk. So all of this we'll break it down in the future sections, but I wanted to give an idea of where the bulk of the money is being invested, and it may come as a surprise that the bond markets actually have the largest amount of money. So this is a slide that I have here, the global financial stock. So this is what we mean. So it doesn't include real estate and factories and things like that. This is just financial stock. It crossed 212 trillion in 2010, I'm sorry. And so now if you look at the breakdown, the stock market capitalization is just a small part. All of these others are all bonds. So you can see these are public debt securities, they're financial institution bonds, non-financial corporate bonds, securitized loan, which is just like a bond, and non-securitized loan, which is also like a bond, but it's just non-securitized. So it's like your credit card loans. So all of these are where you're required to pay the money back with some interest. That's basically what a bond is. And you can see that 75% of money is invested into fixed income or bonds, whether it's corporate, whether it's government, whatever it is, but they're all invested into bonds rather than the stock market. The stock market is only a very small, maybe 20-25% of the entire financial stock. It's interesting to note what happened in 2008. This is when we had the financial crisis. You can see the stock market got hammered. The previous year, the stock market was 65, but then in 2008, it became 34. So it got roughly cut into half. But look what happened to the bond markets and all these others. They did not get affected. In fact, a lot of them went up a little bit. That's the game we are playing. The stock market tends to be volatile, gives you a better return, but the bond markets gives you stability and gives you safety. And in all years, you'll see these bond markets hold a lot more money than the stock markets. Let's now look at this money flow. And this is a picture from 1999. It shows how cross-border investing was taking hold. So up until 1999, we were of course getting globalized, but China was still small. And the big investing was taking place between US and Europe. You can see the thickness of the relationship. That indicates how big these cross-border investing flows were. So the US and Europe was pretty big. That's the one in the green. And then US-Japan was also very big. All the others, there are connections, of course, but it's not very big. But now if you take a look at 2009, which is 10 years later, you'll see that China has started becoming a big player here. Japan, the role has been reduced. There are other countries that are coming in. Europe is dealing with Asia, Europe is dealing with Africa, and Europe is dealing with Russia as well. So Europe's become pretty big. US is, of course, big, but there are lots of more cross-border relationships that are going on. And so this is 2009. And here in 2016, I'm sure this picture is going to look even more busy. And there's a whole lot of more relationships that would have come in. We are living in a globalized world. Money is just flowing from one part of the world to the other, depending on where the return is available for that money.